Thanks for checking in to the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 25. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaron Wilt each and every week, and we're going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
It's going to be a lot of fun when we're like, thanks for checking in, episode 748, episode 2000. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We might have to adjust our intro a little bit.
Season 6, episode 9.
Episode. Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll get there. I mean, hey, I would say, and I don't know how the maths, but we're halfway through season 1, right? Would you say that that's right?
Kind
it's April.
of.
The season starts in November.
I don't know. I mean, we have an off season that's not a true off season. It's like a slow season.
But we'll still call it. I feel like it's still
season 1.
Season
2 would season 2 starts with our previews for next season for sure.
Yeah.
That's when season 2 starts.
Yeah. But anyways, we digressed a lot for y'all.
We're starting off strong. It's the off season. Like we said, it's the off season.
It is the off season.
There is no more college basketball until when?
College
October?
Basketball games.
Yeah.
Plenty of college basketball.
Plenty of college basketball news. Yeah. But we're here this week. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're obviously going to talk about the national championship game. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2 new hires that have happened in the last couple of months, last month, since March, since the regular season ended, basically.
Yeah.
The 2 hires, and then we're going to talk about kind of some coaching carousel stuff, and then I have a little bit of trivia for Jaron, and I have that prepared. So feel free, if you're here, to play along as well. We'll do that at the back end. If you're a fan of one team, but you've seen any of the other teams play ever, you might be able to get the answers. So I think you should do all right.
I'll be and if you are watching and you want to throw it in the chat on either YouTube or Twitter, I'll delay my responses, hoping for some assistance, because
some help.
I'm not confident. Yep. A phone a friend type situation. Phone the community. Chat the community.
I might allow it. Here's my thing. There's 22 possible points in the trivia. I'm gonna set the over under at 18.
Oh, so you got confidence in me.
I do believe in you. I believe in our listener too. So, but we're not there yet. So let's talk about the national championship game. So, UConn just went back to back. They won back-to-back national titles, and they did it this time by, very similarly to how they did it last year. They won every single game by double digits, and other than the Final Four and in the national championship game, they were up by 30 at one point in the first 4 games. Their closest game with like less than 10 minutes left was the Alabama game in the Final Four. They were just steady, but they were favored by 6 against Purdue, and they wound up winning 75-60. Zach Edey did all that he could to keep Purdue in this. I mean, literally.
Everything. Yeah, it was one of those situations with Zach Edey and company, and it was one of those things is who's going to be the company?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have much company.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it on our preview show for the national championship game after the Final Four of like, okay, will this game be decided by who wins the battle of the bigs or who wins the battle of the guards? And Purdue won the battle of the bigs, but we thought it was going to come down to the guards, and UConn very clearly won the battle of the guards in this one. Braden Smith was really the only guard that was effective, other than Cam Heidi's absolutely monstrous dunk. Highlight, like absolute highlight dunk. That's going to be played all time. But Braden Smith had 12 points, 8 assists, and 3 rebounds Fletcher Lawyer had 0. Lance Jones had 5.
Let's
And
put it this way. Let's put it this way. Edie had 37.
yeah,
Braden had 12. The rest of Purdue combined had 11.
yeah.
So
It, it, UConn played them exactly how they wanted to play them. I mean, Edie only getting 10 rebounds is actually kind of like low, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, I'm impressed by that from a UConn defensive standpoint.
Yeah, they really limited Purdue's boards. There were times where uh, Purdue would get a shot and they just couldn't get the board. They just couldn't get the board. Like, what was the rebounding margin? Purdue had 28. UConn had 35.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's that length,
and
all the way across the board.
no one for UConn had double digits either.
And their
So it's
and their leading rebounder was Cam Spencer
yeah,
with 8. But let's talk about, like, before we get into the guards, let's talk about Zach Edey. He did have 37. What did he have in the Final Four? Like 30 something again. He had like an absurd
I
stat
think he
line.
had 39, or he might have eclipsed 40. To be
He had
honest,
40 in the Tennessee game, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I
But
think, but he had upper 30s for sure.
mhm.
This was a low
Um,
scoring game for Zach Edey. Let's put it that way.
he he had a case, possibly for most outstanding player, but I just don't see them giving it to
The team
a
that
team.
loses.
Yeah, the team who loses.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know the last time that has happened. I know like Jerry West famously won, Finals MVP when the Lakers lost, but like I off the top of my head, I can't think of a scenario where that has happened in the
I
NCAA tournament.
I can't either.
Especially when, your team loses by 15, it's kinda hard to put it there, but I mean, he was the best player in the NCAA tournament, like, hands down, just like he
Yeah.
was the best
Oh
player in
yeah.
the country.
Yeah. Like that is not in question.
Mhm.
Um, I just think it's hard to, again, how are you going to have a team go out celebrating a national championship,
Yeah.
holding the national championship trophy, and then walk out a player from the losing team in front of all that? Like, it would just
Yeah.
be awkward, I think, for
Yeah.
everyone involved,
And,
even if the best player on the court was on that losing team. It'd still be awkward.
right, Tristan Newton won most outstanding player, and I think rightfully so. Um, he was great. He had 20 points in this game, but, just right from the jump, like, Purdue was in it for most of the first half. But you could just see, like, how steady UConn was. And in the first half, like, Edey went to the bench in the first half at one point for, 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
But just the way that Edey had to be involved every single play, every second of the play, defensively and offensively, really looked like he was tired. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, there were times where he was legitimately, you could tell he was gassed.
yeah.
And I think a
And
lot of that has to do with just,
that's just how UConn wanted to play it.
yeah, yeah. And
And
it
it's not
worked in their
like,
favor.
yeah, I mean, like the Klingon Edey matchup was great. Zach Edey played, scored more, but like Donovan Klingon made him play differently than he is used to.
Well, I mean, even
Um,
at one point, Klingon had 4 fouls, right?
mhm,
So didn't foul out, didn't play most of we'll call it the fourth quarter.
yeah,
Didn't play a lot, and there were times when I forget who. I think Johnson had to guard Edie, and he ended up fouling out. I got to the point where, like, okay, there was
yeah,
5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, and Dan Hiller was like, well, we can't put Klingon in right now because if Klingon fouls out, like, you need Klingon on the court
yeah,
to end the game. And
yes,
so Edie had to guard her Caravan. Sorry,
mhm,
got the unfortunate uh, task of guarding Edie. And I'll tell you what, Edie looked lost a few times in that matchup, um, which is really interesting because obviously Caravan plays a lot on the perimeter,
mhm,
moves around a lot. Edie is just so used to being in the middle, right? Like he's guarding the middle. Well, there were times late in the game where it looked like Purdue was just playing 4-on-5 because they had their four guards or their three guards and I think Gillis or Heidi or even Trakoff and Wren, whoever was in, had to try and guard the perimeter with five
Yeah.
guys.
And then conversely on the other side, it looked like it was 1v5 or 2v5, at times when Purdue was on offense because I mean, the other like you weren't getting a lot from other people. I mean, Edie put up 25 shots. And I think Edie showed why he will get drafted because he's going to be able to get on the floor and get you buckets. Like he's going to get you points. Now, the reason why he won't probably play more heavier minutes is kind of what you saw in the matchup is just like the ability to switch him onto a perimeter player in the NBA is going to happen, every single time, and they're going to try and um, get him away from the basket. There's defensive 3 seconds in the NBA, and so those things kind of showed you like, okay, this might be why it might be a little bit tough, but he's going to get on the court just because of his offense, and he's going to work, very very hard for his defense to be,
Yeah, I
up
mean,
to snuff.
someone said it. I forget who, an NBA analyst just pretty much said that's like, yeah, he's going to see 6 minutes a half. Like he'll get in there, he'll play 12 minutes of fundamental basketball throughout a game in the NBA. He might not be the kind of dominant force that he was in college, but he's
Yeah.
going to be an impact player coming off the bench. Just come in and play sound
Yeah, he'll have a
fundamental
role for
basketball.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And then kind of the last thing that I want to talk about is just like how the guards did not match up with UConn's guards very well. Like, Braden Smith hit their only 3-pointer. He only took 2 of them. Fletcher Lawyer only took 1. Lance Jones only took 1. Mason Gillis took 1. Miles Colvin took 2. They only took 7 3-pointers because just the way that UConn was able to guard them with their size and their athleticism, they just could not get open. They could not get the looks that they're used to. And I mean, they knew their game plan was kind of just let Zach Edey and Donovan Clingan battle it out, let Zach Edey get his, but have Clingan challenge him, tire him out, and then we will just absolutely lock down the guards. And it worked. It worked exactly how they wanted it to. And it
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
unfortunate because we talked about, seeing Cam Heidi in here. Saw him for 15 minutes. Saw Colvin in there because they needed that, more athleticism.
Well, and there was some foul trouble. Like
Yeah.
Lance Jones finished with 3 fouls.
Hmm.
Braden had 2 fouls.
Yeah.
Lawyer had 2 fouls.
And
It
so
was
it's like,
just
Lance, like Purdue doesn't, in my opinion, Purdue doesn't make the Final Four if they don't have Lance Jones.
100%.
But he is 6 foot. You
Yeah.
know, Braden Smith, I think, is 6 foot.
Yeah.
Fletcher Lawyer is 6'4", but he's very small. Like he's very skinny. He's very light. So those guards from UConn just were absolutely able to overwhelm them. They shot 22 threes. They only made 6 of them, but they were able to get all the shots that they wanted.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was just awesome seeing. Like it's always awesome seeing a fan base like get to experience a Final Four. And Purdue obviously hadn't been to a Final Four since 1980, so it was really awesome to see just like what Twitter was like, and seeing how like people were like, I'm doing whatever I can to go to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking off work. I'll have to fly back Wednesday. I don't care. I'm going. And that's awesome. And like you saw their student section was absolutely full. Their fan base was, showed out. And I think it was UConn, right? They had to give some tickets to Arizona State students
Allegedly.
for their
But
student
yeah.
section. Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, Purdue fans came out and you know, UConn fans did it last year and they were like, I don't know, probably didn't feel the need to go again. But it was awesome that, Purdue fans got to do that and got to experience that, and hopefully um we get to talk about many more Final Fours with Purdue and with these teams in Indiana. You know, I want an Indiana team in the Final Four regularly. It would be
Yeah,
very nice.
it'd make our jobs more enjoyable.
Yep.
It would make obviously our following more positive, just because of seeing all the positive stuff on Twitter throughout the entire tournament.
And we get to
So
stay focused on Indiana the whole time.
yep,
Um,
it makes our content better,
mhm.
because I don't think our fans would want to sit here and listen to us talk about you know Florida State and
Yeah.
Kentucky
Right,
for
in the
two
Final
weeks.
Four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
those are
just a
just two
quick
random schools, but
yeah, you just predicted it some year. You called it. Um, so Purdue, just real quick on Purdue. So Ethan Morton and Mason Gillis are both in the portal. They have their COVID year, so they're going to go exercise their COVID year. I don't know if it's true, but I saw that somewhere on Twitter that Duke is allegedly targeting Mason Gillis pretty heavily,
which is
which
interesting.
I hate and love at the same time.
Yeah, and Gillis is a perfect fit for Duke, but
Yeah, but
hate that because it's Duke.
wherever he goes, I mean, they're getting someone who's going to go shoot the lights out and play
Be a, and
hard
be
for
a
as many minutes as you give him.
and be a proven leader, right? Like
Hmm.
the dude,
Yeah.
he didn't, even though he didn't start really. I don't think he started at during any of his time at Purdue, but the dude was just a leader in that locker room, on that bench, in practice, and he knows how to win.
Hmm.
He's part of a winning culture. He's going to bring that. That's going to be a positive aspect that he brings to any team that he plays for.
Yeah. Zach Edey obviously going to the draft, not going to use his COVID year. Lance Jones and Carson Barrett are graduating. So next year, Caleb First will be the lone senior. And right now they have one, two, three. So they have those five guys leaving, but they have six freshmen coming in. So they're short one scholarship spot. So that means you have to see someone take a red shirt or someone has to transfer out. I mean, maybe one person transfers out and someone takes a red shirt so that they can get a transfer in. I'm not sure if Matt Painter's looking to add any transfers. I mean, right now he's not on I haven't seen their name attached to anyone that they're reaching out to.
I mean,
They
I
don't have
just
a
think that,
spot.
yeah, they don't have a spot, so I think that plays a big part of it.
Yeah.
But
And but I think that, whatever they do, I mean, their new class that they're getting is very athletic, which is nice. Um, Guys that could have instant impact, but will be young and raw. What's the kid that's coming to Purdue?
Jakari Harris
Yeah,
or
him and
Catchings,
yeah, Cannon Catchings, like just absolute athletic studs that I think are going to really elevate the program, and I think that that's what they need, and kind of what they felt in the national championship game. Like they were able to get there, and Lance Jones being more athletic than some of their guys last year really helped them, but they just need more of that all around.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're gonna be a really young team, um, and I think it'll be fun to watch, just how they come together.
Hmm. You want to jump in to talk about what's going on at Indiana State? You want to lead us on that one?
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about it on our last episode after the NIT championship loss. Josh Schertz officially did take the job at St. Louis. It had been rumored for quite a while. There was a little bit of internal controversy about that, which we talked about on last week's episode. So we're not going to get into this week. But I don't remember if we said it, but at the time, right after it happened, Indiana State did announce Matt Graves. But I don't think, was he an associate head coach or just an assistant coach?
I think he was associate head coach.
Okay, so he was associate head coach. He was named interim head coach, which I think, and we both think, was the right move. Uh,
Absolutely.
and then they, worked out a contract for him and announced that he will be the head coach of Indiana State moving forward. So Matt Graves is a guy that we're really high on. We thought that he was going to get head coach offers from IUPUI, or I
Yeah.
guess IU Indianapolis now. But we thought that he might be in the name, is a name thrown around for a lot of that. He's a former Butler player. He was an assistant coach at Butler under Brad Stevens. He does have a few years of head coaching experience at South Alabama.
Hmm.
Uh, did not do super well at South Alabama. He was 65-96 overall, so a losing record there.
Yeah, and he
But
talked about that, like, when
yeah,
he got interviewed, I think it was Rick Semler who interviewed him, and he was basically saying, like, "When I got offered the job, I was still at Butler." This is in, like, 2011 maybe.
yeah, that sounds right.
He was like, "When I got offered the job, it's a first head coaching job, like, you always wanna take that." He was like, "I think I was kinda over eager to take it and maybe not ready." And, he did 5 years there, and then, I don't remember where he went right after that, but he basically was like, "I took the job. I feel like I wasn't ready because I have no connections down in Alabama. Like, my network wasn't there. I feel like I should have stayed and waited for something to open in the Midwest, and then I could take that." And so that's kind of part of the reason why he's staying at Indiana State and why he wants to be here.
Long term, like he wants to end his
Yeah, he
career
said he wants
at
to end
Indiana
his
State.
career here, which is awesome. I mean, if you're looking like the way that coaching is now is like the second you have success, like a high major team is trying to hire you. And if you have a guy who's like, I literally don't want to leave. Like, I just want to stay here forever and I want to end my career here. Like, you're like, okay, rally behind him. Let's give him, everything we can and let him lead us. And I think that he could be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's even Shirts endorsed him. He supports
Hmm.
the hire. He thinks that Graves is the guy for the job. We think the Graves is the guy for the job. Um, so he came out and said his first priority is getting a team assembled, and he wants to make the NCAA tournament. He wants to play in the tournament with 4 letters, not the tournament with 3 letters.
Yep.
So that's his priority. And I think that he again is the right one to do it. He came out and said that or no, I'm thinking of the next guy we'll talk about. But
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, one thing to talk about with Indiana State, right? So their entire starting lineup and entered the transfer
In most
portal
of their bench.
and most of their bench, which is understandable, right? Anytime a coach leaves, it only makes sense for the players to put their name in the portal, whether they're going to leave or just see what's out there and kind of
Hmm.
wait to see what the new head coach, who the new head coach is, and how they mesh. But we tweeted about it, but Avila, Conwell, Larry, Swope, Kent, a lot of those guys their names are connected with St. Louis, which is understandable, except for now
Jason
Jason
Kent.
Kent. He announced today that he is going to Texas,
Yeah.
which is
Which I think is
awesome.
great for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. We'll talk about more of these guys in coming episodes when we really hit the transfer portal
Yeah.
conversation hard. But a lot of those guys do have meetings, visits set up with St. Louis. No one has announced that they are going to St. Louis yet, so maybe Graves can convince a few of them to stay. But it's going to be interesting. There is a bright future for Indiana State outside of all of these names and great players leaving. Just because Graves is, I think, I'm going to reiterate it and say it again. Graves is the guy for the job, and he's going to uh, kill it positively, kill it in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think one thing that yeah, I think that one thing Indiana State fans need to realize is that um, Graves said that players, like starters, were going to hit the portal even if Josh Schertz was still the coach, because basically the entire starting five, I mean, were like celebrities this year because they were
Yep.
playing all so well. They all deserved to get high major looks. And, in the same way that Josh Schertz deserved to get high major looks for a better job, so did the players. And you see that with Jason Kent going to Texas. And like Ant Wright just tweeted today that he thinks that Ryan Conwell is probably he thinks he's going to end up being one of the top transfers from the portal. So,
Yep.
whoever gets him is getting, just an incredible guard. So it was going to happen whether you kept Shirts or not, but now Graves is just going to have to assemble a team just like this next guy at the next school. So earlier, I guess this would have been earlier in March, right after the season, like a week or two after the season officially ended, I think they made it official. is IUPUI or IU Indianapolis. Like Matt Graves' name, I don't know if it was attached to the job, but it was like people were saying that they thought he would be a great fit for it. I don't know if he
Yep.
removed himself from the search because he knew that he might be next up at Indiana State, or if he was just hoping to be next up at Indiana State. But he was possibly a candidate. But they did go with Paul Corsaro from University of Indianapolis. Just brought them to the D2 tournament. They were a number 1 seed in the Midwest, so they were hosting. They ended up falling in overtime in the second round, so kind of didn't go out how they wanted to, but still had a really, really great season. He did great things at UIndy, and you're going to see a lot of that same stuff because his play style is going to be the same, and he's bringing a lot of guys with him. Like he said, there's a lot of familiarity with the guys coming with me, but they're going to come help set the tone and establish the identity of the program. They know what it takes to be successful, and they're going to continue that success at IU Indy. And he said it's kind of a foundational group, and then he's going to build on that. And he's like grabbed 7 people from the portal, but I think they're all D2 guys. 4 of them come from UIndy, and I guess the other 3 are D2 guys that I assume he knows.
Yeah.
But
like
these guys, I think all of them probably played in the same conference that UIndy was in. But just like this is like his core that he's going to build around, establish the culture, and he, I think, is just in the same way that Graves is invested in Terre Haute. He is invested in Indianapolis. Like he really wants to make IUND really, really good again.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one. I almost said it with Graves, but he's the one that said he wants to focus recruitment within a 6-hour radius of Indianapolis. He wants to get guys that are from the area, are familiar with the area, keep them in the area, and really just build that culture. I know that it will be probably another tough season for the Jags, just because, again, any first year head coach, any first year with a new head coach is usually, a down year, right? Like that's normal. That is common stance.
Absolutely.
In most situations, especially at mid majors. But it's foundational. He's going in with that plan of, I'm going to build a culture first. I'm not going to just get all these players to necessarily win games. Winning comes with culture. I mean, look at what Matt Painter did with Purdue when he took over the job. It's kind of apples to oranges comparing Purdue to IU Indy, but it's the same thing. His first few years were not necessarily great when he took over the job, but look what the culture that has been built at Purdue.
Yeah.
And I think
what Purdue basketball is. He wants to be able to show tape and say, like, this is what we are. Like, you fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, whether it's a down transfer who comes in or just a guy who recruits out of high school or, a lateral transfer. Like he wants to build it up. And I'm a little bit high on the team just because he doesn't have to build a whole new system with whole new players.
Right.
He's got a lot of core people that know how he plays. They know his system. He's going to keep his system. He's going to run it. He's basically just going to be trying to run his system with better players. And if he's already got, if he's got 4 guys who already know it, in and out, I think that's going to help him not start so far back. But he's obviously like moving to D1. He's obviously got to use some different connections. But, Josh Schertz built his team on some guys that were playing D2 ball. Isaiah Swope, when he was at, USI, was playing D2 ball and transferred up. So, like, those guys happen all the time. Xavier Bledson is another case. Like
a guy who Xavier Bledson, pretty much his family begged Schertz. Begged is maybe not the right word, but said, take us with you. Like, take me with you. Take Xavier to Indiana State with you. Yeah. And Schertz wasn't sure if Xavier would be able to play at that level, and he showed that he could.
And he almost helped. He almost got them to win. He was instrumental in them only losing by 2 in the NIT championship game.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. So we'll go into kind of IUI, later on when we talk about the team and talk about transfers and stuff, because obviously, like, unless you are a fan of UND, you have not heard of any of these guys. Like, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful about that. But kind of the last thing before we get into trivia, I just want to talk about like coaching carousel, because this is a carousel that I thought could include one of our coaches. And we talked about it last year when the coaching carousel was open. Was going was Matt Painter's name going to be attached to anything? Like that was what I was wondering, and he
I
wasn't.
mean, yeah, at all.
Yeah,
I didn't see his
and
name once as a candidate for any job across
which
the
is
country, and there were a lot of jobs.
it's surprising and not surprising at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
I said it last year. I even tweeted it out last year that I thought that Matt Painter was going to get the Texas job,
not get, but be
but
approached
be
about it.
approached about the Texas job. But then Rodney Terry,
Played his way
out.
into it.
Yeah, coached his way into it. He didn't play,
Right.
but yeah, coached his way into it. And I
I
thought
don't
the
know,
same
man. I
thing.
saw him on the court this year. I saw him on the court.
True. I thought it was going to be the same situation for a very well-known blue blood.
Mhm. Yeah. Before we
Painter.
kind of talk about why we thought Matt Painter might be involved or might not be involved, let's talk about kind of the schools that opened up this year and kind of how the carousel went. So, Juwan Howard got fired at Michigan, so Michigan is open.
Yep.
And obviously, Kenny Payne got fired at Louisville, so Louisville was open. So those are two top 10 jobs in the country, I'd say. And it was like, okay, the names that were kind of attached to Louisville were Josh Schertz and Dusty May from FAU. And seemed like at the 25th hour, the 23rd hour or whatever, Dusty May goes to Michigan. Josh Schertz says no, he's going to go to St. Louis. And then Pat Kelsey from College of Charleston comes in and he takes the Louisville job.
Great hire, by the way.
Absolutely great hire. I mean, I think he's going to kill. I think that Louisville fans are like, crap, what is this? And then they met him at the press conference. They're like, never mind, we're good. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
But then kind of the big domino that fell, like that was, those are two big jobs, like, but they filled pretty quick, like within a day of each other, like 2 days of each other.
Yeah, pretty close.
Because once Louisville realized they weren't getting May, they're like, all right, who's next?
Yeah.
But then the big one was like, so SMU is moving to the ACC next year, which is weird. Yeah, it's weird. But they're moving to the ACC, and the donors were like, we can't keep the same coach. Like, we have to have a better coach. And so they fired their coach, and then they go out and they hire Andy Enfield, who had not been doing great at USC. He coached Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City. You may have heard of him. So he goes to SMU, which means USC is open. And it's like, okay, who's going to take that job? Maybe a California guy, Eric Musselman. So he leaves Arkansas. Now Arkansas is open. It's like, okay, who are they going to get at Arkansas? Who'd they get, Jaron?
They, in a very, very shocking thing, John Calipari.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. A lot of people didn't expect it because it's their conference rivals.
Mm-hmm.
We tweeted about it a little bit. We thought that Cal was going to be out, but then Cal, after losing in the Elite Eight, losing in the round of 32, right?
This year?
Yeah.
No, they lost in the first round to Oakland this year.
Was it the first
last year?
round?
They lost in the second round. Yeah, they lost in the first round to Oakland this year.
They've been losing a lot in the NCAA tournament. So Cal was definitely on the hot seat in general.
Yeah, but they had 33 million. They had 33 million reasons not to fire him, basically.
Yeah. And it came out that Cal said that he was staying. Like, he had a meeting with the athletic director, said he was staying. And then the Arkansas job opened up, and that job was only open for like
not very long at all.
A couple days.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Arkansas went through their candidate pool, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, because it was like they're gonna. It was like they're zeroing on Chris Beard at one point, and then
Yep.
he was like, "No." And then they're zeroing in on um
Jerome Tang.
Jerome Tang, and then he
He
said
said
no. And then
no.
they're trying to get Will Wade, and Will Wade said no.
So it was like no
And
one wanted the Arkansas job for some
yeah,
reason, except for Cal, who all of a sudden, like, I at like 10 p.m. one night,
yeah.
it came out that Cal was in conversations, and then by midnight,
And it was an account
Cal
that
was the
like
head coach.
it was an account that I like don't follow, and I was like, "Who is this person?" That
Yeah,
like tweeted out. So I was like, "Is this?" I was like, I think I sent it to you, and I was like, "I don't know if this is real, but if
and I,
it is, this is really
and I
interesting."
I kind of reaffirmed it. I was like, I don't think it's real. And then an hour later, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
this is very real. And
Oh, and this was like national championship. That it was the night before the national championship. This was
yeah,
right after we recorded last week.
yeah, it was literally all like we recorded, and as soon as we ended,
It
it
was like
was
saw
just
a tweet. Yeah.
yeah, it was just Cal to Arkansas, Cal to Arkansas, and then like a lot of weird things came out, and he didn't actually get announced as the head coach until like 4 days later.
Yeah, it was weird.
But he was effectively going to Arkansas. It was just contract stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, so then the Kentucky job opened up, and that it's like with this coaching carousel, it was like okay job, okay job, good job. Now there's this great job open
Like top
with
3.
Kentucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's like, oh, who is going to be the next Kentucky coach? Because Cal was there for 14 years or something like that.
Yeah,
Was
15 or
wildly
something.
successful, generally speaking. Early on,
Yep.
was just a NBA lottery pick pipeline,
Yeah.
but they weren't winning games.
Yeah, I think that
When
they were
they
both
weren't winning the games that mattered.
yeah, I think that both Coach Cal and Kentucky, like they both wanted a divorce. They just couldn't find a way to get it done that made both of them happy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like Cal didn't want to quit. Cal wasn't going to quit. They didn't want to fire him because they would have to pay him $33 million. But they both wanted out, and like that's why he went to Arkansas. And so then Kentucky goes and pursues people, and the first person that I don't know if they actually like offered him, but the one that like they were going to go after first was Nate Oates at Alabama,
hmm
and he was like, "Nope, I'm good.
yeah,
I'm good. I can do everything I can do at Kentucky at Alabama." And then I forgot to mention this, but Scott Drew at Baylor, his name was attached to Louisville, and he turned it down.
yeah, yeah.
And then they approach him, which in a crazy Twitter, just crazy couple of days on Twitter about Scott Drew. We're not going to go into it, but it was nuts. He turns down Kentucky. He's like, nope, I think God wants me here in Waco. So he stays. So he turns down Louisville and Kentucky in the same coaching cycle, which is unheard of. And then they apparently like didn't want to wait for Billy Donovan to be done coaching, which I don't even. I mean, they're probably. I don't even know if they're making the playoffs right now, or if they're going to make. They're like maybe in the
I
playing game.
yeah, I don't know how the NBA works anymore with playoffs,
Yeah,
but
but
Billy Donovan
like,
had a few weeks, and honestly, I'm not sure Billy Donovan would have taken it because like, how do you? It's college basketball is so volatile when
mhm,
it comes to the transfer portal, the player turnover, the uh not politics, but like politics behind NIL and
yeah.
donor bases
And
and
he got out because he didn't want to recruit anymore.
yeah,
But, the flip side is like he's an NBA coach. He could come down and say, "I coached Kevin Durant. I
yeah,
coached blah 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 blah, and we have this much NIL for you." And they'd be like, "Okay,
right.
I'd love to go to the NBA. Thanks, Billy."
Well,
But
then they allegedly went after Dan Hurley,
yeah,
who
and
was
he was
just
like,
like, nah,
"Dog." Yeah. I think Kentucky and Billy Donovan. Kentucky is to Indiana as Billy Donovan is to Brad Stevens. You know what I mean?
you mean
Like,
you mean Kentucky is to Billy Donovan what Indiana is to Brad Stevens?
yeah, like
Okay.
it just it's the same thing. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the one that got away, the one you could have
And
had.
and Indiana gave Brad Stevens a blank check.
Basically, yeah, it was basically like you're
But it
going
was
to be
just
the
like
highest paid coach in college basketball.
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like,
No
no.
thanks.
But yeah, so like it was interesting, and I think that leads to like, oh, so then I guess we should say Then they do hire someone. They hire Mark Pope, who played on the 92 championship team at Kentucky.
No, I thought it was 96.
96. He won a championship with Kentucky, and he was coaching at BYU. I don't think he's won an NCAA tournament game. So like everyone was like, "What?" And
We
like
were both. We were both at the same time. Like we said it, we were like, "This is a weird
mhm.
hire. Like
I
this doesn't
texted
make sense."
I texted my friend Jimmy, who is he lives in Kentucky right now. His whole family lives in Kentucky, basically. Like he has a whole bunch of his family lives in Kentucky. He's a huge Kentucky fan. And I was like, I need to know what your thoughts are. And he was like, dude, it's like he was like, when I heard it, like it felt like, you're driving around to go find a place to eat, and you're like, oh, dude, there's Ruth's Chris. Let's call. Oh, they're full. Oh, let's go to Fogo de Chao. Oh, they're full. And you keep trying all these nice restaurants, and then you keep trying and you just can't get in. And someone goes, Taco Bell is kind of good though. And you just go to Taco Bell, and then you're like, oh man, but I wanted this, but I guess Taco Bell's all right. And then when uh Rick Pitino came out and was like, no, he's gonna do great. I support it. And then he was like, yeah, it kind of felt like your friend was like, Taco Bell always hits. Like
Yeah.
Taco Bell never misses. So after Rick Pitino said that, he said he felt better about the hire, but
Well,
he said it felt weird.
I thought that Rick Pitino was going to be a guy
That should have been offered.
that should have been offered. We thought that we kind of glanced over it. We thought that Matt Painter was. I
Yeah.
even said it. I said Matt Painter wins a national championship next year, guarantee, if Kentucky hires him.
I think
I have that much conviction in that, just because
he's such a good coach, and he would just
he's
have
such a good
unlimited
coach
resources.
and have unlimited resources. But again, maybe Pat Maynard, Matt Painter was never asked.
Yeah.
He probably is never going to leave Purdue. But I'll tell you what, after seeing the entrance that Mark Pope had
Oh my
at the
god.
rally today,
Yeah.
today being Sunday, right? So Sunday, they pulled in like a charter bus into Rupp, and every player, I don't know if that's every player, but most of the team from the 96 championship walked off the bus one at a time. And then all of a sudden, Mark Pope walks out holding the trophy. And
It was awesome.
this dude is going to win championships at
Yeah.
Kentucky. Like it was absolutely electric. Like I'm all in on it.
Sold
now.
out crowd. Sold out
Yeah.
Rupp.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
When's the last time Rep sold out?
Eh,
Probably most of this season. But
really, yeah, really cool though to see, like, because I think Twitter was crazy about it, but apparently they seem happy. So, and then I guess the last thing, when Pat Kelsey went over to Louisville, College of Charleston went and hired Chris Mack, who used to be the coach at Louisville, and he left because he left Xavier for Louisville because it was like life-changing money, right? Like you get $4 more million a year than you're making right now, and which makes sense, but it was like miserable for him. And I think that's that reason, like now money, I think, is the reason why we saw so many people turn down Kentucky and turn down Louisville, is like Scott Drew has enough money. He
right.
doesn't need more money. He has won a national championship at Baylor. He can do it at Baylor. He's done it. And so Kentucky offering him $9-10 million a year, his lifestyle won't change. His kids are going to be set up. Like
He just might be a little bit more stressed.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Way more pressure.
Yeah, way more pressure. I was gonna say he'll get more flack from the fan base and the donor base, but
which I think is probably why Matt Painter didn't get asked at all, or probably said, do not call me about these jobs, because I'm already very rich. I'm making millions right now. You quadruple my. It's not like he's making 50,000 and you quadruple his salary. Like he's making millions. You quadruple his salary. Nothing really changes for him.
Yeah, he's got more taxes.
Yeah, he might as well just be happy in West Lafayette. Have fans that are going to support him for life. He'll be in the Hall of Fame there. So why leave? And I think that's a lot of why you saw people say no. Definitely, I think that's why Scott Drew said no. Nate Oates, I think the same reason. He's at Alabama. It's a football school. are like, we're in the Final Four. Okay, all right. Guess I'll tune in.
Right.
Didn't realize
Right.
we had like a basketball team even. So like no pressure, just all lots of money and no pressure. Whereas
Yeah.
Kentucky is lots of money, lots of pressure.
Yeah. It's
No.
either it's pressure and diamonds or diamonds for free.
Yeah, basically. So and I support them. Like, unless you have someone who's at BYU can come back home to Kentucky, like that's different. That's a different thing. But like having a coach who's already like Jerome Tang's making a lot of money, there's no reason for him to go. But to Arkansas. But very interesting coaching carousel. You ready for trivia? We're going a little bit longer than I wanted us to, so let's go through trivia. It's not very long.
Okay.
It's 22 questions.
Not very long. 22
Okay.
questions.
It's 22 questions, but they're all very gettable. So I set the over under at
18, you said?
18. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, we're going to go through just going to go team by team. And the first category is scoring leaders. Now, not every team's scoring total leader is their scoring average leader. So I wrote down both. If you get either, I'll give you the point.
Okay.
So there's 11 total points here because we have 11 teams. Next round, there will be 11 points as well. So let's just start alphabetical order. You can give me the scoring total, who scored the most points on the team, or their average, who had the highest average of scoring. Ball State. No, you can't look it up. Ball State.
Jihad.
Leading scorer. What'd you say?
Jihad.
Yep, Bashir Jihad. Good job. Butler.
Davis.
No. It's a guy we talked about being in double figures all the time.
Is it Brooks?
It is Brooks. I'm not giving you a point for that one. This one is where they are. This is the first one where the total leader is different than the scoring average leader. Evansville. So you can give me there are two people here you could pick. I will give you either for a point.
I'm going to go Hummerhouse.
He is the scoring average leader. He scored 6 fewer points than their scoring total leader, which is Yassine Toomey. But Yassine Toomey played 9 extra games. So, yes, Hummerhouse. I'll give you that one. Good job. Indiana. Also 2 different answers.
Renew.
He is the total scoring leader. Can you guess who the scoring average leader is?
Is it Ware?
It is. Good job. Indiana State.
Conwell?
No. You should have thought the obvious one, Jaron.
Swope?
Robbie Avila.
Oh.
Scoring and total and average. Okay.
Yeah, I guess
so you're 3 for 5. IUPUI. Who's their scoring leader? Same person for average and total.
Counter?
It is Counter. Notre Dame. Same person. It's one person here.
Marcus Burton.
Okay. I was like, you know it. You're just blanking.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
You're not about to say the wrong person. You just can't grab his name right now.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Okay, here's your free space. Purdue. Tough one.
Edie.
Yep. Purdue Fort Wayne. Same for total and average.
Is it Bello?
It is not Bello.
Jackson.
Yep. All right.
I was truly 50-50 on that.
That one is I think they're very, very close too. Like they're very close in points. And I didn't have their spreads here. Southern Indiana.
Jeremiah Hernandez.
That's correct. And last for Valpo.
Is it Stafford?
It is Stafford, Isaiah Stafford. So you got 8. What I put the over under at? 18, 16, 18?
18.
Okay.
I gotta pick it up.
You got to have a really good. You can only miss one here. We'll see. Now, same thing, same teams. Rebound leaders.
Oh,
There's only one place. No, yeah, only one place where the rebound leader is different for
From the
total
rebound
versus
average.
averages. So let's do Ball State.
Jihad.
It is Jihad, scoring and rebound leader. This one I think might get you. Butler. Because of how they played down low, it's tricky.
Yeah. I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say Thomas.
Yes, let's go. Okay. Rebounds for Evansville. A lot of these are actually leading in both categories, which is interesting.
Am I allowed to look up a roster?
Nope. Because you'll see it on there. Just trust.
I'm spacing on Evansville's team.
I gave you a hint. A lot of these guys are leading in one category. But it's not the I don't know. You'll think of it. They played more games than the
Is it Toomey?
It is Toomey. Toomey leads total points and rebounds. Rebound leader for Indiana.
That was clearly Ware.
It is Ware. Okay. Rebound leader for Indiana State.
This is, I think, the toughest one. But I'm Avila.
Nope, it's my boy, Jay Kent.
Yeah,
this is the one I don't think you're gonna get. This is the one I don't think you're gonna like. This is the one that I thought you would get every single other one of these except this. IUPUI.
Oh, IUPUI. Dog. I
was like, he might not even be able to pull a name because we didn't talk about him much at all.
I can see his like. I can't see his name, but like, as soon as you say it, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's who I was thinking of. I just can't think of his name. I got nothing.
Kwanzaa Samuels.
That's who I like. I was like, I know him. Mm-hmm. I know it. I just can't think of his name.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Here is the only one that's different for total and average, and that's Notre Dame.
I'm spacing on even their roster.
It's a tough pull.
I got nothing.
Keba Njai is their average leader, and Tay Davis is their total.
I would have guessed Njai if I could have even pulled a name.
Another freebie. Purdue. Yep. Here's one you should get.
A freebie.
Huh?
This one's also, I said,
Purdue Fort Wayne.
It's a freebie. Eric Mulder,
hardest working man in America. Rebound leader for Southern Indiana. He was like almost a walking double-double this year. He's the second best player on their team.
I know, but we haven't talked about Southern Indiana in so long that like
he's in the portal. I mean, a lot of people are. I'll give you. He's got the same last name as a star on one of these other teams.
Oh my
god! His first name is a nickname.
Don't tell me. Is it Powell?
No. I believe Jerome Powell's at Valpo, so I won't count that one for you.
No, I was thinking of Kieran Powell.
Oh, okay. Yes. I won't count that one for you. I'll give you one more on this one. I think you can get it. I was wrong. Just Jerome Palm. Can't even think of a name. I can't even pull the right name.
I got nothing.
AJ Smith.
Oh.
And last one, Valpo.
Is it Big Coop?
It is Schwieger. So you got 15 out of 22. That's pretty good. That's very good.
If you would have let me have a roster without if you would have given
Without
me a
stats.
roster without stats,
Yeah.
I think I could have gotten more.
Yeah.
I'm just their names.
I thought about that because I knew that would make it more gettable, but I was like, I didn't want to prep you on what I was going to quiz you on, just so you didn't accidentally see these things.
Yeah.
But 15 out of 22 is very good. Points, Robbie Avila. You missed. You got all but 3 in points. And 4 rebounds. The rebounds one was tough.
For points, I didn't think that Robbie, having not played every game,
he missed those 2 games
and missing a lot of minutes because he sat on the bench a lot. I was just his average, or I was at that point, I was going points scored. I wasn't even trying to get average, and I didn't even think about him being the same points scored and the same average.
Yeah.
I think if you would have said this, if you would have definitively said this is the same person, then I would have guessed Avila, but I was just thinking point value.
For fun, can you guess who scored the most points this year in Indiana? Edey, 963.
Didn't he score the most points in the country? Probably.
Yeah, 963 points, just close to that, just under 1,000. Second was Robbie Avila at 644.
Jesus, 300 points.
What's even crazier is that Edey was obviously the rebound leader. And part of this is just because they, how many games they played. He had 474. Edey did. Second place, who also played extra games, played I think 1 fewer game maybe. Jason Kent, 308 rebounds.
Wow.
A lot of boards being brought down.
Yeah.
But that's good. If you're playing along at home, let us know in the comments how many you got right and what you thought of it. We'll try and maybe we'll try and sprinkle in some trivia here and then to really just see what you remember. I mean, pulling names, that's pretty good. Pulling names. I thought about giving you when you were struggling, giving you options, but then I was like, I don't want to. Having a roster is easier than just giving you these 3 people.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's fair. Anything else?
No, I don't really have anything else. Masters is over. Scotty won. Congrats. I hope his wife has the baby.
I saw a tweet that, so just to wrap things up, for those that don't know, Scotty Scheffler said going into the Masters that if his wife called and said, I'm going into labor, he was going to withdraw from the tournament.
Incredible.
It's awesome. He didn't want to miss the birth of his first child. I saw a tweet afterwards that said, Scotty Scheffler's wife has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. To just show up on 18 green holding the baby as he walked off.
See that he has the lead after day 3 and be like, listen, how many times we're only going to have, how many kids are we going to have, and how many times are you going to win the Masters? We can have more kids than times you can win the Masters, right?
Yeah.
Which this is what, number 2 for him?
I believe so. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, because he won in 22.
Yeah. Dog.
So good for him, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's really all I got. We're hoping to get some interviews planned coming up, but we'll have more word on that later. So
yeah. Well, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking into the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.